Give me roughly 20 minutes of your time, and by the end of this video, you will have a completely systemized business from start to finish. Now, what I'm going to take you through in this video is what I'm calling Samson's step-by-step systemization framework. This is going to be an 8-step exercise that I'm going to take you through from start to finish, and by the end you will have absolutely clarity on what your business does, how it operates, what you need to do manually, and everything that is automated around that. So follow along, stay engaged, and you'll be happy that you've watched if you stay to the end. So let's get straight into it. So this is Samson's step-by-step systemization, a complete framework for systemizing any business. So to clarify, this applies regardless of what industry you're in, whether you're in e-commerce, you're a marketing agency, whether you're selling a skill or you're a freelancer. Either way, there is ways to systemize your business, and these apply to all of them. So this document outlines a comprehensive framework for systemizing any business through a structured step-by-step approach by breaking down the process into manageable pillars and pipelines, identifying areas for automation, and SOPs, which, if any of you guys don't know, is just a standard operating procedure, which is basically just a document outlining the way we do things. Okay, so these are the backbone of any sort of systemization. We need to have a structure of what the business looks like. And I like to sort of use the analogy of just a really long line. Okay, at the start of the line, there is, a brand new lead, any form of traffic, some form of marketing, someone seeing your product and being aware of it. And at the very end of the line, there is when they've been a customer, they've received your service, and you're asking them for a testimonial, you're trying to increase the lifetime value of them. That is the process. There is this very long line, and it's about taking as many things out of that long line as possible that you don't need to do, and only focusing on the key bits where your skill and your leverage is actually needed. So step 1 of 8. Okay, this is step 1 of systemizing your business. This is understanding the 4 pillars of a systemized business. So any business can basically be broken down into 4 simple stages. Okay, these are very general, very broad, but this is the basic idea. You've got acquisition. Okay, this is how you generate and convert leads into customers. Okay, there is some process of generating traffic and generating leads, and then there's some process of converting that traffic and turn them into customers. That is your acquisition channel. Okay, then you've got onboarding. Okay, so once a customer pays, okay, now what? What happens next? What does a customer need to do in order for you to be ready to deliver your service? Sometimes it's very little, sometimes it's quite extensive, and sometimes onboarding can actually do a lot of the legwork for you and be the majority of your service delivery. So what information do we need from them? What expectations do we need to set? What does the customer need to see now that they've sent us money? Okay, so that's the next stage. Then, obviously, once your customer is fully onboarded / ready to receive their service or product, then we've got obviously service delivery and fulfillment. So this is obviously how you deliver the product or service efficiently. So the more streamlined we can be in actually delivering our service, the easier it's going to be for us to scale, because we're not going to be held back by our own clients. Okay, then once you've delivered your service and you've fulfilled for the client, you've acquired them, you've onboarded them, you've delivered for them, the last step is basically increasing LTV, okay? Because once you've got your customer, you've delivered them the results, okay, that is not the final step, okay? A lot of people will stop there and focus on getting new clients, whereas it's actually much easier to simply increase the lifetime value of your current customers than it is to acquire new ones. So what you really want to focus on is, once you've delivered, how can we increase the lifetime value of our customers? How can we retain those customers? How can we upsell those customers on higher level products or a greater service? And how can we maximize the revenue over time by collecting things like testimonials and introducing our current customers to referrals to bring us one extra customer as well? Okay, so that is the very first step, is understanding that these are the 4 pillars of your business. Okay, now these look very different depending on what industry you're in, but regardless, you have a method of acquisition, a method of onboarding, a method of service delivery, and hopefully, if you don't, then you should have a method for increasing lifetime value and, really squeezing the life out of every customer you get. So that is step 1. I would identify what these currently look like for you in your business. Just a couple notes. You just need to understand, okay, what does my acquisition process look like? How do I onboard clients? How do I deliver my service? And how do I increase LTV? And what you'll realize a lot of the time is, when you do this and you outline just these 4 basic steps, you'll realize that you don't really know. And there's a lot of stages where you're not actually 100% sure. You've got a kind of idea of, okay, this is how we do this, but it looks slightly different every time. And the goal is to systemize it to a point where it's repeatable, you can train anyone on it, and it can happen a million times over without anything going wrong. That is the idea of systemizing your business, because it makes it predictable. It makes it predictable and simple, and obviously simple scales. So that moves us on to step 2, which is breaking each of these pillars into pipelines. Okay, so a lot of you guys may be aware of the concept of sort of pipeline management. It's a very standard sort of project management method and basic business operations method as well. So what we want to do is basically have a pipeline for each of those stages in our business. Now, you may have multiple pipelines within that, like one stage. So within acquisition, you may have your organic lead gen pipeline, you may have your paid ads pipeline, you may have a referral lead pipeline. So this can get as complicated as you want, and you can expand upon this exercise as much as you want. I'm going to take you through the simples of it and the basics, and then you will understand how you can actually go above and beyond and actually go more in depth if you want to. But everyone who's running a business can keep it as simple as this if they want to, and follow a simple process and still be more systemized than they were before. Okay, so the idea of breaking your business into a pipeline is again coming back to the idea of a line. So let's say the line is this long. There's a section here that is your acquisition pipeline. So within that pipeline, you have, in this example, we've got 5 stages. Okay, so each pipeline is full of stages. So you've got the really long line. You've got acquisition, onboarding, service delivery, increasing LTV. Okay, and that makes up the entire line. And now within those each sections, there is lead captured, follow-up initiated, qualification process, appointment booked, offer presented, deal closed. There are stages of the pipeline, which is basically just the different processes that your client or customer goes through when they're going through your business. Okay, it is the customer journey. Okay, so if we look at the acquisition pipeline, what you can see is the first stage is lead captured. Then we've got follow-up initiated, qualification process, appointment booked, offer presented, deal closed. Okay, you'll see onboarding pipeline. It may look something like this: contract signed, welcome pack, next steps, client portal access provided, kickoff meeting scheduled, first deliverable completed. So within each pipeline, you need to basically have a start and a finish. So where do they come in? You can see they come in as a lead, so we can see the lead is captured. Where do they end when we finished our acquisition? They end with a deal closed. Okay, onboarding pipeline, they start with a contract signed, okay, or a payment received, and they finish with, the first deliverable completed, or just something that means that they are fully onboarded. Okay, and it's the same for each step. So what I would recommend each of you do now is take your, first 4 sort of key pillars of your business and break them into pipelines as best as you can. You can use AI to help if you're struggling, but to an extent, have an idea of, okay, what are the different stages that my clients go through from when they are first introduced to me, when they've just seen one piece of content, one advertisement. Where are they at there? Okay, they're a lead captured. All right, and what are the stages they go through within each pipeline? And then by the end of it, you will have a really clear outline of, okay, this is every single stage that a potential client or customer goes through when they're coming through my business. When they come in to the business, when they're just getting started, and when they leave the business, potentially when we've finished our service, or if it's an ongoing, when they've made it to consistently receiving their service month on month. Okay, so that is what you need to break it down into. And what you're really doing is outlining it as a funnel. So what you'll see here is we have a customer journey funnel. You'll basically see that what you're doing is you are funneling people through these different stages of your business. So in this case, you can see we've got a big funnel. Traffic is going to be coming up in the top here. Okay, and what this funnel is basically just your conversion method. Okay, it's a follow-up. Okay, how are you getting in contact with the lead once that traffic's come in? How are we qualifying them in order to see whether they actually qualify to hop on a call with us and, use our time? So then we've got appointment booked, and as you can see, they slowly come down and they're a customer at the end. Okay, they go from lead captured to engaged customers. So you need to map out funnels for each of your processes. Okay, so onboarding, they come in and they have just paid you, but they're not ready to receive their service yet. So what is the funnel? What are the steps they need to go through to be ready to receive your service? Okay, now this is extremely key. So hopefully by now you guys should have a clear idea, and feel free to pause and go away and do this if you want to. Do it at a different time, whatever works. But once you've done this, you will have a clear idea of, okay, I have got, potentially in this case, we've got 5 times 4, 20 steps to my business. Okay, we've actually mapped it out step by step. What are the different steps a customer goes through from the very start of when they come in to the very end when they leave? Okay, now that we've got that, we're actually in a position to identify areas for automation, which is our step 3. Now, this is crucial because if you look at all of these steps, okay, if you were to have to do every single one of these every single time you signed a client, then how much work is that? How much fulfillment is that? And how much time does that actually take? A lot, okay? You do not want to be involved at every single one of these stages. And to be honest, ideally, you want to be involved at as least stages as possible so that you can focus on growth and simply pushing more leads into the acquisition pipeline. Okay, you want to be focused on delivering results. Okay, you want to be focused on your service. Okay, if you're, selling a specific skill or you're an agency, okay, what you really should be focusing on is the one thing that no one else can do as well as you. Okay, if you're selling, if you're a marketing agency and you're selling paid ads, okay, the actual paid ads and the actual process of that and, potentially the scripting and the strategy of the ads, that is what you need to focus on. What you should not be focusing on is sending out welcome packs, making sure your clients have a client portal, scheduling kickoff meetings. None of this you should be involved in because you really should be focused on the strategy and the actual service that you started the business for, okay? And this is the problem that a lot of people end up in, and new entrepreneurs especially, is they have one thing that they're really good at. Let's say they're an editor, they're running an editing agency, okay? They're really good at being creative and, that sort of aspect of business. But what they end up doing is by not having systems in place, the higher they scale and the more clients they take on, they lose touch of what they built the business for, and they end up focusing on every single one of these stages, okay? And that leads to people, first of all, delivering worse results as they take on more people, but it also means that they end up hitting a ceiling where they can't scale any higher because they're at a point where the amount of customers they have currently means that there is too many stages to do for them to go and get another customer, okay? Ideally, when a lead comes in, up until, most of the time, service delivery, you don't need to, be engaged. You don't need to step in. Once a lead comes in, you should only really be stepping in when they've been fully onboarded and they're ready for their service, because that is what your specific skill is, and that's what you're going to be the best at, better than anyone else or better than any automation can do, okay? So when we're identifying areas for automation, you want to ask yourself, can AI replace this task? Okay, we're in 2025. There is so much that AI agents and basic AI workflows can do that majority of the time, if it's something that you're doing manually and something that is, potentially communication based or something qualification based, okay, or it's just an SMS, an email, all of that can be automated. It can, okay? It's just a case of whether you know how. So ask yourself, can AI replace this? If you think it might be able to, then research, look into it, find places where you can educate yourself and learn more about how to automate your business, okay? Ask yourself, can this process be triggered automatically, okay? Is there something going on that is a trigger for that process to happen, okay? When are you starting your onboarding process? The trigger in that case is going to be someone paying you, okay? If there is a trigger, if there is an action that sets the process off, then that is literally how you build an automation, okay? It starts with a trigger, something that sets it off, and then it happens automatically. So consider that and note the things where there is a clear trigger, there is a clear something that starts that process, in which case it can probably be automated, okay? And again, can an email, SMS, or workflow eliminate human involvement? Because that is the aim here, to eliminate human involvement, because the human involvement is most important and the highest leverage when you're doing it in terms of strategy and growth and the actual service delivery. There's no leverage to having a human involved, in your qualification process or in your appointment booking process, because it's not needed, okay? So a few examples of automation in each pillar here. We've got chatbots for lead qualification, okay, automated follow-ups, emails, SMS, automated appointment booking, all very easy to set up. Onboarding, one of the easiest things to systemize, automated welcome emails with next steps and a clear outline of what the next steps are. CRM triggered onboarding sequences, so whether it's a welcome pack, whether it is a complete this form here, whether it's join the community here, whatever it is. AI generated FAQs and client support bots, super easy when someone's onboarded. If you give them access to, either a clear set of FAQs or a bot that is trained with all of your FAQs, then it stops them coming to you with all of those initial questions that a brand new client has. Because when someone first joins, they're going to have a lot of questions, and the more questions that you can handle automatically and not have to deal with, the smoother that onboarding sort of sequence is and the less involved you have to be. Okay, then obviously you've got fulfillment, which is, potentially having automated project management workflows. A lot of this might be more internal in terms of helping your team and yourself potentially manage the project itself and manage the service delivery, but having that very streamlined and, having all the data tracked, having all of the timelines all clearly stated so that you're on track and that you're clear on what your delivery looks like. Okay, obviously auto scheduling of check-ins, feedback surveys. I like the idea of having a service delivery workflow which is like over delivering. When someone joins and someone starts receiving their service, how easy is it to simply have an automated email sequence that gives them, extra tips and extra resources that you think might be helpful? As much as that's super personalized, you can automate and over deliver without actually doing anything more. So there's so many things that you can add to your service and only set up once, but they're going to serve you forever. So these are the things you should really be looking at. And again, AI-driven reporting and updates. If we can collect all the data automatically and sort of format it automatically to go out to the customer, ideal. We don't need to worry about our reporting because the numbers are getting taken in real time and sent straight to your client without you really doing anything. Okay, increasing LTV. Automated post-service follow-ups, automated review collection, having a system to encourage referrals, referral tracking software, personalized upsell sequences, again, all easily done with AI. So those are just a few examples, but the idea is that you take your stages and you clearly tick off, and I would highly suggest you actually do this, have a checklist and tick the ones off where it's like 100%. Even if you don't know how currently, if there is a way to automate it, note that down, because eventually it's going to be something that you should if you can. Okay, so tick all the ones where it's like, that's an email, okay? That process there of, a welcome on board, that is an email, that is a text message, and that can be automated. There's no need to do that manually and actually take time to write it. We can automate it, we can make it personalized. You can automate personalization now, which is, something that's really interesting. So go through, tick all of the spots off where it's like, for a fact automation can remove those, and that is going to be the first step for sort of systemizing things, okay? Then, once we've done this, the next step is going to be identifying areas for SOPs. So an SOP, as I mentioned, is just a standard operating procedure. It's just the way we do things. It's a document saying, this is how you do this is how you do this. Okay, so a few examples would be, how to qualify a lead, how to send a client welcome pack. Okay, so these are processes where, and what's going to end up being an SOP is going to be the processes that are hard to automate. It's going to be the ones where, to be fair, some of these are quite bad examples in terms of a lot of these can be automated. But majority of the time, your SOPs are going to be processes where simple automation or simple workflow can't solve the entire process, and it needs to be documented. There needs to be a sort of procedure and a training procedure so that anyone, any new team member, anyone you're hiring can actually follow that process clearly without you having to step in. Okay, when you hire someone, they have a clear process of, this is my job, these are the steps I have to take to achieve, my managers in this case, obviously they have a clear idea of, these are the steps that I need to achieve in order to deliver for this business and benefit this business in the way that I think I can. So really high level rule as well, if a task is repeated more than twice, document it, because eventually if you're repeating a task and you're having to come up with how it works each time, eventually you're going to run into trouble. Okay, if it's repeated more than twice, document it. Okay, put it in the document. You might not need it now, you might not need it next week, but eventually if you're scaling, and hopefully everyone watching this video, the goal is to scale the business, okay, you're going to need to hire people and outsource basically everything you can. And by having the processes that you've been following and your team has been following as you've grown documented, then when you get to a point where it's pretty clear, I need to hire someone for this, you have a clear process there that they can follow, and they can continue doing your great work to the same quality without you doing anything. Okay, so clear little format for SOPs is simply, what is the task? Okay, so the purpose and overview, what is the goal of this document? What is someone trying to achieve when they're going through this? Okay, who is responsible? Outline who this document's for, who should be following it, so that your team members know, when they're looking at the SOPs, is this for me? Is this something I should be following, or is this a different job role and I'm confused? Okay, you need to have that. Outline who it's for. Then keep it super simple, step-by-step instructions. Simplify it down, okay? If it can't be automated, you can still break it down. And again, like even you can still use the sort of pipeline method of breaking it down into stages and just having a step-by-step explanation for each of those stages, okay? And then obviously the tools, resources, any links, anything that's needed should obviously be in there, and that should be throughout the step-by-step, okay? So these are the first key 4 steps that we've got, and these 2 do a lot of the hard work for you in terms of taking everything that can be automated and automating it is great. And this sort of pipeline method can be directly transferred into software. So what you're seeing here in terms of these stages and having an automation at each of these stages can be completely automated. And I've got separate videos where I go a little bit more into depth in that anyway, but that's the idea. Okay, we need to know when they get to, final delivery, or they get to, a certain stage where an automation can't go off and just solve it for us. We then need to have potentially a notification automated. And again, there's still ways to automate and make it super systemized. A notification that lets, John know that he now needs to follow XYZ SOP. Okay, so even though it's now involving a manual person, it's still completely systemized and happening smoothly without you doing anything. Okay, you can have an automated notification that says, XYZ client has got to here, notify John to go through with the XYZ procedure, okay? In other words, the SOP. Then, obviously, once you've created your SOPs, they can go through and follow that, and they move on to the next stage where, maybe it's now automated again, or there's another SOP, and this is the sort of process that you want to go through all the way from the start to finish. Identify what can be automated, what can't, and if it can't, let's create a standard operating procedure that anyone could follow so that we can outsource it when possible, okay? That takes us on to step 5, which is removing unnecessary processes. Now, this is an extremely valuable step because a lot of the time, and potentially you've done it now, is you've mapped it out, okay? And you will have mapped out every single stage of your business. Now, often there will be stages within your business that don't do anything, okay? That don't really achieve much, okay? So if you can simply just remove them, great, your system is now simpler. And as much as it's sometimes easy to get very complex and think that by making everything complex and super strategic, okay, that's going to help us scale. Often it's doing the simple stuff very well and doing the simple stuff at scale that actually does help you scale. So I would highly recommend also doing a check through once you've gone through this process, through step 3 and 4, once you've got that outlined, then stopping, going all the way back through and looking, okay, is there anything that is actually just unnecessary? Okay, ask yourself, does this task add value or can it be removed? Is this process actually necessary, or is it just how we've always done it? Is there a more efficient way to achieve the same outcome? Or can you achieve, the outcome of multiple stages within one stage or within one SOP, one automation, okay? How can we, condense this set of stages and make it as simple as possible so that the process can be as systemized and as smooth as possible. Okay, so a few examples of process elimination. You've got manually following up with every lead, use an automated follow-up system, manually scheduling calls, use a booking calendar system, okay, repeatedly answering common client questions, or basically customer service, create a knowledge-based chatbot and they can handle that forever. So if you have any sort of customer service pipeline, potentially think, is this necessary, or do we just need to train one conversational bot to have the knowledge of all these questions and answer them all in one place, okay? So that is, again, another really key step, going through and removing the things that you don't actually need, because I promise you there'll be something that you don't need and it's not actually contributing to the growth of the business, and it's not contributing to the happiness of your clients. So those are the main 2 things, okay? So if it's not needed, remove it, all right? Step 6, we've now got obviously review, optimize, and maintain. Okay, so systemization, as much as I've given it to you in hopefully about a 25-minute video, it's an ongoing process, okay? You're going to grow, you're going to change, the business is going to change, okay? And you're going to need to keep looking at it. You're going to need to keep going over and systemizing regularly to improve the way you do things, okay? So every 90 days, this is just a little process, audit your existing workflows, go through your workflows and look, okay, are there any bottlenecks or inefficiencies? Are there any things that we're following because it's part of our system and it's part of the process, but it's not actually helping us, it's actually holding us back and wasting time? Is there any of those? If there are, identify them immediately. Either remove them if you can, or just find a way to make them more efficient. Okay? The last thing you want to do is have a super systemized business, but it's so systemized that you can't actually break out of it. And when there's these certain scenarios, you end up wasting time because you're following a process that doesn't include, this one occasion. All right? Then you've obviously got improve automations and SOPs. Can they be streamlined further? Can they be improved? Any sort of conversational AI can always be improved. Give it more information over time. It will get better. Okay, SOPs, add more sort of contingency planning. Add more sort of processes that potentially could happen. Sort of scenarios that, could occur. If we can cover those in an SOP and simply just have a note that says, okay, also, if this ever happens, follow this. It stops any of those times when you have potentially a team member following a clear SOP, and then they go, hey boss, I'm completely stuck here because we don't have a clear process for XYZ and this has just happened. Okay, you don't want that. You as a CEO do not want to be in a position where you're having to manage someone when there's already an SOP in place. So by consistently improving that SOP and adding to that SOP based on scenarios that you've seen happen in real time, you can, streamline it even further. All right, check for new tools. There's always new AI tools coming out at the moment. Some of them are gimmicks. Some of them are really useful. So keep an eye out. If there's something where you're like, okay, that could be really useful and save us a bunch of time, give it a try. There's no harm in it, okay? Gather feedback from the team and clients, what's working, what's not. This is crucial. People do not listen to their employees enough. If your whole team of employees is telling you, this process sucks, this takes way too long, we should do it this way, listen to them because they're probably right and they're the ones doing it, okay? So this is the sort of process for optimizing how systemized your business is, okay? Step 7 is something that people don't talk about a lot, is having a standardized hiring process, okay? So this is basically a standardized operating process, okay? Once you've got an idea of all of these stages, you understand how your business operates, okay? But how does your business scale, okay? Because that is something that we should standardize as well and systemize as well, if possible. So a big part of scaling is obviously delegation and hiring so that there is more leverage. So what you can also do is use the same concept of a pipeline and understand what is the standardized process for hiring, because what you want to do is be able to, if you need to, and okay, we immediately need to hire for this position, you want to have a standardized process of, okay, well, this is how we hire someone, this is how we make sure we hire good talent and they're a good fit for the company. Having that process documented again in an SOP means that when you reach a stage where it's like, okay, we need to find someone for this ASAP, you're not suddenly rushing around to figure out how you do that. You know how you do that, you have a clear process of how you do that, and then you can simply execute on that for the specific role that you're looking for. Okay, I'm not going to go too into depth to that because I think it's quite self-explanatory, but it's just something that people don't think about a lot in terms of, it's great to systemize your business as it is, but systemizing your business so that it's prepared for growth is taking it that step further. Okay, step 8, and this is the final step, which is very brief, is finding the one thing. Okay, what I think a lot of businesses should do, just to systemize even further and just have a clear idea of how their business works and how they're going to grow, okay, is finding the one thing that directly contributes to their growth every single time. Every business has it, okay, whether they want to admit it or not. There is one thing that you can do every single day that you know full well, okay, this is what grows the business. I'm sure there is one thing in your business that is the number one driver of revenue growth, okay? And what I would highly recommend is you identify that and have that as part of your standard operating procedure, okay? What is your standardized method for growth? Okay, it's great knowing the way you do things, but what is your strategy for growth? Have that clear. Have a clear idea of, okay, this is what we do to grow. Because if you don't have that and you don't have a direction and you don't know where you're going, how on earth are you going to get there? So that's just the final step to think about, is find the one thing that actually grows the business and turn that into a process, turn that into a system, and have a system that is, the growth system, okay, the growth procedure, okay, because it's great having all of this and having clarity once, a client comes in, okay, but what is the strategy for growth? Okay, having that documented and having the entire company clear on this is how we grow, okay, sometimes it's simple as, we get majority of our customers through word of mouth, okay, or we get majority of our customers through ads. Okay, there's one thing that generates you majority of your revenue most of the time. Okay, so finding that one thing and turning that into a standardized process will give you absolute clarity on, okay, this is how we grow, and as we grow, this is how we handle the business, and this is what the system looks like. Because what you want to have ideally is absolute confidence in your back-end service delivery and what happens when someone pays, okay? When you sign a client, you want to have absolute clarity that everything is going right once they've paid and everything's going smoothly from then. Because once you've got that and you're confident in that, you know full well that you can just focus on growth. You can really focus on growth and focus on your strategy and your one thing. You can solely focus on that one thing, okay? Knowing that you have the system behind you to actually handle it, okay? So, a few final thoughts is that Samson's systemization exercise transform a business from chaotic and manual to fully automated and scalable by following these steps, okay? So by the end of these steps, you will have done all of these things and hopefully have a really systemized business. I know I said 20 minutes. Apologies if I've taken a little bit more of your time, but I hope it was extremely valuable and that this exercise, if you go through and follow it correctly, will give you a lot of clarity on how your business works and a lot of confidence to start scaling your business the right way. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos like this. And if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will answer every single one, I promise. And if you are looking to systemize and automate your business all the way from client acquisition to testimonial collection, I will also leave a link for that down below if you're looking to work with me directly. And other than that, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and I will catch you in the next one.